your sons and daughters will be in the church to eulogize you, right? Or they'll write something for the paper. What will they write? You know, how many times do we see people get up here and say, you know, I don't know if I should say this in a church, but I'm not going into that, right? But we hear that. How far off is that from what Jesus is talking about here? Right? Like, and more, and I could say, I don't know if it's more or less than that, but like, what do we hear about in those little sections of the newspaper? What do we hear about people trying to, you know, give witness to a life hopefully well lived? We don't hear about prayer and sacrifice and charity and generosity. We really don't. We hear about things like hobbies. We hear about ambition. We hear about success in the worldly sense. So this is what it is, right? Are we willing to leave the one world behind for the other, or are we not? And by that I don't mean, of course, that there are two worlds. I mean, what I mean is there's the world of kind of self-orientation and living for myself and being about my own dreams and plans and ambitions and the rest. And then the other is a life totally centered on Jesus. Totally centered on Jesus. Such that at his call, we're willing to do and go wherever he says and whatever he says. Right? So, I mean, this is it. Because think about it this way. If we're building ourselves up, I mean, the examples have more historical root than that, right? I mean, it's like the building of a tower, as in the background the temple is being built in Jerusalem, right? But the building of the tower and not having the resources to get there, or not seeing that it was not the right plan to take on all along, and then the building of an army, you know, right? There's this preparation for something that is to come. But the question is whether or not we're prepared to hear and heed the call of God on our life whenever he asks. And I would say whenever he asks, in our moment-to-moment Christian living. And what will prevent us from hearing and heeding the call of God on our lives? What will prevent us from responding eagerly and without hesitation and without reservation to the call that Jesus makes on us in this moment? And now in the next moment, and now in the next moment. What is it that will prevent us? And anything that will prevent us from responding to the call of Christ with our whole heart, our whole mind, right? All our strength, everything we've got, everything we are, all of that stuff, anything that prevents us from responding, we should hate. We should hate. Because nothing at all should come between us and Christ Jesus. Nothing at all. And anything that does, we have work to do. I mean, I could say everything ahead, cut it off, right? Go in the model of Jesus here and say, just get rid of it, hate it, it's done, right? Just focus on Jesus. I could say, okay, if that's what we need, then so be it. Keep your eyes on Jesus, focus on Jesus, and those other things, whatever they are, mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters, and even our own lives, everything will, if we keep our eyes and our hearts fixed on Christ Jesus, everything else will fit in. Everything else that needs to fit in will fit in. And it will fit in it'll fit in its relation to Jesus. Right? So in this sense, there's one absolute good, and all the rest are relative goods. The absolute good is Christ Jesus. And we can't have just some of him or go in only a little way. We've got to go all in. We've got to put everything we have and everything we are on Christ. And it's only by then having that one absolute good that we have access to these relative goods, right? That they're good in relation to Christ, in as much as they lead us to him and to increased devotion, trust, love, obedience to him. And they're not good in as much as they lead us away from living that God-centered life that he wants us to live. So it's not just the animating principle. Jesus is not just at the center of our life, breathing life into us and the rest. He's helping us organize the rest of the stuff that we're about. And guess what? There are some things that we're about that are not worthy of us as disciples of Christ. And they're not. They will hold us back if we give them center stage, and they like to creep into the middle. So we need to hold firm to this this exhortation from Jesus today to have him at the very center of everything we have and everything we are. Nothing at all should prevent us from following the call, no matter what that call is. And no matter where we're called. I was talking to someone just the other day. She said that a relative of hers, who's not a Catholic, a relative of hers, is going now to mission school, and she anticipates being sent into some place in the world where the gospel is not. Like it has not. They don't have written languages, and so they don't have the scriptures, and they don't have access even to the proclamation of the gospel. She's anticipating going there for 10 years. This is not a Catholic, right? What are we doing? What are we doing, and what are we not doing? Are we prepared? Now I say, like, you're not there. I will say, let me give the generous read. None of us are there because we haven't heard that particular call. But if we were to hear that particular call today, would we go? You see, this is it, right? You just extended the homily by 10 minutes. No, no, I'm not. But look, think now stop and think about the way you responded to that question. That should tell you a lot. Should give you some self-knowledge. Because whether you say, I mean, some of us might say, oh, yes. If he said it, I'd go. And others, we start kind of counting the cost, right? And then others like, I'm hesitant, right? So where are we? And where are we in relation to what Jesus has exhorted us to here? The only absolute good in our life is Christ Jesus. Even our life is a relative good. Christ is the absolute good. And so he has to be our going concern day in, day out. He has to be our focus, the focus of our hearts and our minds and our whole life. He has to be truly the animating and organizing principle of everything we have and everything we are.